My love church, I want you to imagine that it's in the middle of the day. We're in the Middle Eastern climate, and there's a well, and a woman has come to this well at noon or in the middle of the day because she is shunned from her society because she has had several different husbands, and she's living with a man that's not her husband. And so she comes to this well by herself, being shunned and shamed by society, and she's happy for that. Little did she know there was a divine appointment, as Brother Jody talked about. A divine appointment when she would deal directly with God or with Jesus. And so the Bible says in John 4, verse 4, speaking of Jesus, and he must needs go through Samaria. Now I know that's the Greek language and it's kind of the old King James, but he must needs. There's something special about the way it says that. Jesus must needs go to Samaria. Now it's interesting to note that the Samaritans were the race of people that came out of the intermarriages of the Jewish people in the nations that were not completely driven out. If you remember when the Israelites took the promised land, God said, you drive all of the nations out. But they didn't do that. And because of that, the other nations were still there, and there were some intermarriages between the Israelite people and those of other nations. And that gave birth to the race of the Samaritans. Well, the Jewish people had a lot of animosity and hatred of the Samaritans. And so here we see that Jesus, the Son of God, a Jewish man, must needs go through Samaria. And so we find that why this divine appointment came about was because in verse 7, there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water, and Jesus said unto her, give me drink. And so we find that Jesus brought himself and his disciples to this well, and because it was a divine appointment by God, so he must needs go, and because this woman was a sinner, and she needed salvation. Note, this woman was a Samaritan, a member of the most hated race among the Jews. This woman was known to be living in sin. And thirdly, this was a public place, and no man would talk to a woman in a public place like this. So no respectable Jewish man would have talked to this woman. But Jesus did. And why did he? Because it tells us, and here's our devotion point, the gospel is for every person, no matter what their race, their social position, or their past sins. That's the point of today's devotion. Let that sink in. The gospel is for every person, no matter what their race, their social position, or their past sins. So, it also gives us another note on this Monday morning. As Jesus, we may have divine appointments. The first way we may have a divine appointment is that we must be prepared to share the gospel at any time, in any place, and to cross over some barriers that are in our life to share the gospel to others. Maybe your divine appointment, God's opening up an opportunity to share with others. Secondly, you may have a divine appointment to deal directly with God. Maybe he wants to save your soul. Maybe he wants to speak into your life. Maybe he wants to bring favor upon you. But maybe today is a divine day of appointment in which you will deal directly with God. Divine appointment. What a good sermon God brought us through Brother Jody.